Okay.
Good.
Good.
I've really been doing them. Just doing a good job. Yeah, your angles look good. And everything, so. Can you talk and tell them what you're feeling for when you're doing it? If it takes time or makes you stop, don't worry about it. No, sorry, I'm just on
No,
the
that's
way.
fine. No, I understand.
Hi!
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Beth Evans, I'm a chiropractor, and I am just feeling for tight muscles. I'm feeling for places where she may be sore, so I feel for flinching or spasms. I feel for heat or swelling. And I look at the muscles too and see if the muscles look even side to side. And I look at if anything looks like it's poking up, like their spine is round or poking up in certain places, or if they're hollowed out in certain places. So that's what I feel when I just do my initial exam before I adjust. She's a little sore right there, at that lumbocervical junction. She feels pretty tight. Not real sore, but pretty tight.
Well, she's actually had a couple of days off because the dentist came
Oh, did the dentist come? Okay.
Yes.
What day did he come?
Thursday morning.
Thursday
No,
morning.
Thursday afternoon. Sorry.
Well, I'm glad I didn't come because I was going to come up Thursday,
yeah.
so I would have
Yeah.
conflicted. So
He came up Thursday afternoon.
so you can see that when I do that, she doesn't like that at all. So a little sore in her pole. She's trying to get away. Usually, if I push and they give into it or they relax, then that tells me it feels good. But this obviously doesn't feel good to her. So that tells me there's a little bit of a problem there. I checked her teeth. She just had her teeth done. And I look to see if their teeth are even. And hers are fairly even and square. But anytime they've had their teeth done, I always check their TMJ because sometimes their jaw will go out of place from having their teeth done. And the positioning they have to put them in to get their teeth actually floated can throw their jaw up, which is actually way up here, their jaw joint. And you see her lick a little bit when I did that. So it was a little restricted, but it wasn't misaligned at all.
Beth, will you tell them what the licking indicates to you?
The licking is just a release, and usually it means that they feel better or it felt good, which you did. It doesn't always mean that like the bone moved. A lot of people think if they lick and chew, that means that it went. It doesn't always mean that. It just means it's kind of like a sigh, like, oh, that felt good, thank you. So it's an acceptance too, acceptance behavior of I like what you're doing, and it feels better, it feels good. And they don't always lick and chew. Some of them wait until the very end and kind of hold it in, and then they relax. But Melissa's been adjusted several times, so she kind of knows the routine. Oh, and see now that I'm massaging that after I adjusted her jaw, see she's a lot more comfortable with me pressing on it. She's even leaning into me now because she likes it. So everything's connected. So the jaw and the muscles around the jaw and the pole, they all interconnect up here. So if one thing is restricted or out of place, then everything else around it is going to be affected in one way or another. And it doesn't always mean that it's going to be a chiropractic adjustment. It could just be the muscles are tight and they need to be worked on, which her pole is a little rotated on that side too.
She was last time, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, and see, she's kind of protesting a little bit, but her eyes starting to get soft and she's starting to relax a little bit, putting her head down. So even though it's kind of like a hurt so good, it kind of hurts, but it feels good in the long run. So, oh, there's some more licking. Okay, so I'm going to adjust her pole up here. And the pole is made up of basically the skull of the horse and the C1. The C1 is the first cervical vertebra in the spine. And it's a big ring. It's real big, about like that. So that's what this bone is right here. And I'm fixing to adjust that. And that moved very easily. It didn't pop real big, but or make a loud sound, but it didn't move very easily. But if I had tried to do that before I worked on the muscles, I might have had to work a little harder to get it to move. So see how I can really bend her head around pretty easily. So that freed up the pole. Still a little sore. Oh, you're starving. Okay. And so I just work my way down. I always start with the neck first. I feel the whole back, and then I start adjusting the neck. And so what I do when I feel here in the neck, since I can feel both sides of the spine, I push on the bones, and the spine runs right along here. And so I go down each vertebra, and I push on this side, and I see if I can feel the movement on the other side. And then I push it back and see if I can feel it in my hand. And then I just work my way down, and when I can't feel it, or it feels stuck, or I can't feel it as much, then that tells me it's rotated, or it's not moving the way it should. She's got one right there. You can almost see it. Yeah, there's a little bump right there, and that I can't feel it. When I push on here, I can't feel it over here. So it's rotated to the left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hand on there, and I'm going to do a quick adjustment and move it back. Just like that. And she's starving again.
So we told the students we were going to do this. We had them submit some questions. So
Okay.
This is a good time. Tayton said, is it all about strength, or is it more where you have to push to relieve the pressure?
It is definitely not about strength. However, I mean, you got to have some strength, because it's 1,200 pound animal. So the key with any adjustment, whether it's a person, a horse, a dog, a bull, a sheep, a goat, a pig, it's all about positioning, the alignment of the joint, and speed. So, and the other thing with animals, especially people too, but they have to relax. So if they're not relaxed, even if I'm in perfect position, I'm quick, and they don't relax, more than likely I'm not going to get the adjustment all the way.
Because the muscles are so tight?
Because they're so tight, and these muscles are so powerful in these animals, especially a horse. Even a person, even a 100-pound person, if they don't relax all the way, sometimes I can't move it no matter how strong I am. So it's all about, really, your speed is number one, but positioning and just getting them to relax is the biggest thing. So if I can get her there and feel, and it may be half a second that those muscles relax, that's where my speed comes in. I get it, and I'm done. So definitely not about strength.
That kind of leads in. Another one said, are horses scared to go to the chiropractor like some people are?
Yes, actually. Some of them do not like it, and they're scared. And I think the main reason is because sometimes it's a little uncomfortable to get adjusted, especially if they've had something happen or injury. And so horses are flight animals. So when something is wrong, they want to run away from it. And so if it hurt a little bit, one adjustment, and I go to do another segment, then they're going to anticipate it not feeling good, even though it may feel okay. So yes, and I have a handful of horses that every time I adjust them, they get worse and worse as far as their behavior. Not because they're worse chiropractically or hurting worse. They're anticipating it, and they just don't like it. A lot of horses that are like that, had one yesterday. They don't like their neck adjusted, just like people, and they will back up, and so I have to do a lot more soft tissue work. I might not even adjust their neck because I don't want them tensing up, and I don't want them hurting themselves or others around us. So we just have to play it case by case. But yes, I do have a few horses that don't like to be adjusted. And
so we've got several questions here. Would you prefer to finish her and then ask the questions, or do you want me to ask?
No, I can do it.
Okay.
Let's see, we got more licking there on that side.
Yeah. So you went to this side and so you adjusted both sides of where you felt the difference.
Right. So I adjusted C5, which was this one on the left, and then I adjusted C4 on the right. So C4 had gone to the right, and then C5 had gone to the left. So they basically had scissored like that, and so I realigned them like that. So I always clear one section of the spine at once. So I checked her neck, did her neck and her jaw. And so what I do is like a chain. If you twist a chain, all the links in between get twisted. So I like to do the top end, and then I come back to the pelvis, and I check all the joints in the pelvis and in the back here, and then I do the middle, and I go side by side. So that way, if I adjust up here and here, hopefully this middle part will relax, and it's easier on them and me to get it done.
So you sort of answered this in the question before, but Maya asked, how can you tell when a horse needs chiropractic work, and does this hurt the horse?
There's multiple things that can be indicators they need to be adjusted. One is behavioral problems. So, and it could be simple as you come out to brush your horse and they start flinching and moving away from just a soft brush, and they usually like to be brushed. It could be that you see them like actually limping. It could be that you saddle them and they start getting cinchy when you go to pull the cinch. It could be that you notice the muscles are starting to change, like one side to the other, they're losing muscles, or the muscles are becoming like spasmed in certain areas. Performance issues is probably the biggest one. Like people riding their horse, work on a lot of performance horses, and so the horse will stop spinning as good to the right as they are to the left, or they're not stopping as hard as they were, or a rope horse won't come around the corner as hard, or the heel horse won't stop and hold its stop, or lead changes, falling out of lead, just like she's kind of falling out of lead in the back. Multiple things. Obviously, if they've had any kind of injury, they've sat back at the trailer, they've been in a trailer accident, they've gotten cast in their stall, they've fallen down, or they've had an actual surgery or something, and they've been limping around, but they're sound, we probably need to look at them. And it, like I said before, it doesn't hurt the horse, but sometimes it's a little uncomfortable for some of the adjustments. However, it may be uncomfortable for a second or two while I do it, but immediately it feels better, at least temporarily, because endorphins are released through the nervous system, which endorphins is like morphine that you get at the hospital, and so it immediately makes it feel better. Now, they may get sore from it in a day or two because their body has to readjust, the muscles have to readjust to it. However, it does not hurt them in the long run. But just like anything, if anyone's ever had to go to physical therapy because they broke their ankle, or had to go to rehab for any kind of injury, it's a little uncomfortable having, rehabbing that stuff because you had an injury. So it's the same with them. It can be a little uncomfortable. But our goal is to make them better over the long run. But I want to make a horse as comfortable as possible while I'm adjusting them, so that when next time I come back, they're not one of them that goes, oh, I don't want to ever have an adjustment again. So if I know something is uncomfortable for the horse, I try to take my time and pet them, get them in a better position, get them relaxed. I may leave that part and come back, go do something else, come back. I may put them in a different area. Sometimes I just leave it. I work around it and I come back the next time and work on it so that they have a good experience and they don't hurt as bad. But typically 99% of the time I can get them to relax and it feels better. Like she's already looking at me like, why are you finishing me?
Well, and Bliss has been raised going to the chiropractor since she was 3, I guess, with Bree and Clay. So she actually looks forward to these adjustments and she likes them.
Yes, she is a very good patient. She is a model patient compared to some of mine. Some of them that don't have good manners or are the ones that are very defensive. It can be a little bit dangerous because they will try to kick or bite you or rear up or run away or go over the top of you. So a lot of it has to do with just being able to read the horse. So it's not just about the adjustment, but being able to read them and stay safe for the horse and the people around the horse.
And one of the students, Heavenly, asked, have you ever been kicked while doing adjustments?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Luckily, knock on wood, I have not been kicked a whole lot, but it does happen. And a lot of times I can know it's coming. As a matter of fact, I had one 2 days ago try to cow kick me about 4 times while I was adjusting, and he was pretty serious about it. But luckily I knew he was coming, so I stayed really close to him and he wasn't able to get me. He still kicked out, I still adjusted him, but if I had been in a bad position, he would have got me. And I've been bit, I've been knocked off that bale, I've been reared up on, I've had horses flip over or almost on top of me. So yes, it can get dangerous quick, and it can go from this to I'm out of here and I'm going to do whatever I have to get out of this situation with no warning. But most of the time they'll give you a warning. Their ears, their eyes, they're tensing up. And if I know that, then I know that I need to change something that I'm doing, because they can kill you, and they can kill you in half a second. And so, but yes, I have been kicked, and I have multiple pictures to show the bruises. of those kicks, and luckily, knock on wood, I've never been seriously injured from one kicking me yet. I'm sure at some point that probably will happen, but I've been very fortunate. But I think a lot of it just comes from being able to read the horse.
And we're going to talk at the end. We'll just interview Beth just a little bit. We'll ask her how she got to this point and why she is a chiropractor. And one of the reasons I'm bringing this up is because Beth is a horsewoman and has been for a long time. So her experience in reading the horse's behavior is vast. So that really helps her in this job.
Yeah, and I went to school with a lot of chiropractors and vets who they want to go through the animal chiropractic program, which when you do that, you learn how to adjust horses and dogs. And all the other species, you just kind of have to learn on your own, because I adjust a wide variety of species. Horses are my main thing, but there was people in my class that had never been around a horse or never been around a dog, and they were deathly scared of it. So I don't even know how you would go through a program and learn to try to adjust one if you weren't even comfortable just standing next to it like I am right now. Like, I mean, I could do anything to this horse and I'd be completely comfortable with it. But I mean, literally people scared to pet them just because of their size. Yeah. And I mean, I've been around them since I was could walk and riding them, and they just never, I guess it's stupidity a little bit, they just never scared me. They still don't scare me. Like, am I cautious? Yes, I am cautious, but
so tell them what you're doing here, Beth.
So this is called tail traction. Let's turn her and you can, that way you can see a little bit more. It's called tail traction. I think you got a box on your video there.
Uh-oh.
Let's see.
Okay, it says we're less than 10%. I may have switched the phone, but we're good for us.
Okay. So this is called tail traction. This is just a stretch, and as you can see, she's pulling against me. They like it, so they pull. It's just a stretch to stretch all their back muscles all the way up to the base of their withers. And so I do this as just kind of a precursor to me adjusting their back to kind of loosen them up. And I usually recommend this before riding too. They usually, I mean, some of these horses really like it and they'll drag you off, but it's just a stretch. And then I just release. So then I'll come here and feel these pelvic wings. Something hot. I felt like stifle. Yeah. Have you been noticing her stifle popping?
I haven't been noticing it popping, no, but she has had to have them injected before, so
okay.
Maybe.
Well, just when I unrated it, I felt it click.
Okay.
We'll see if it's unstable when I get up there. Okay, so this side of her pelvis is a little restricting. You can kind of see she's a little hesitant about me doing anything here. So the pelvic wing of the horse is very big, and so the point of the pelvic wing on the horse to us is the point of our hip right here. So that gives you an idea of where I'm contacting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get her to eventually just stop stepping around, which she's got to just relax for me. Okay, there. So see, she stopped, she relaxed, and now I'm pressing into her, and she's not really, okay, she unweighted there. The muscles are spasming right there. You can see the ripple. So now she's kind of leaning into me, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use her weight, and this is probably one of them where a little strength helps, just because if they are leaning on you, you got to hold their weight, but and so then it moves pretty easy. And Bliss is an easy one to adjust. She's been adjusted a lot, and she stays on a schedule, so what I do on her may not, she's already yawning and I'm not even halfway done. So, you know, as we go through this process, you know, the first time I may have to do a lot, and it may be really hard to adjust one, and it looks pretty dramatic sometimes. But her, I saw her, it was the last month I saw her.
Yeah.
So she, you know, she stays on her program, so it's just like an oil change. If I keep my oil changed all the time, I don't have as many problems with my car as if I go 2 years and don't change the oil, and then all of a sudden I start having engine problems. So it's the same with them. if they're on the schedule, it's really easy to get them adjusted. So I'm going to grab my bail here, and then I don't know if it's better to turn her that way to see, or so this bail that I stand on, all it is styrofoam and duct tape. It's very soft, it's pliable, it moves, it won't hurt them if they kick it, if they hit the edge of it. It doesn't hurt me if I fall on it. It's very light, I can move it around very easily. It's nothing high tech, but it works great. So, feeling that side, see how she's just stepping away. She doesn't really want to lean into me, so this side has rolled back while the other side had rolled forward. So what I'm going to do is get up here, and we're going to put it back down. You don't usually hear a lot of big pops and cracks in horses. If you do, it's usually in their shoulders, sometimes in their neck, occasionally in their back or their pelvis, but the joints that I'm adjusting are deep. They're down in here. And so that sound, that cracking sound that you usually hear, like if a person gets adjusted, is absorbed by the tissue. So it's not as dramatic, and you don't have to have the crack to have an adjustment. So that's another misconception, is that the crack is just usually the gas being released from the joint. So if there's not enough gas buildup in the joint, it doesn't mean it's not restricted or rotated. It just means there's not enough gas to make sound. It is more satisfying for us chiropractors if we have a crack. I will say that. But it is not necessary.
I know,
she came in hurry. So now what I'm going to do, now that I've adjusted the pelvis, is I'm going to do what we call some motion palpation. And I use this for two reasons. One, I use it to palpate, to feel. I want that back to bounce. And I kind of will watch her head to see if it bounces. And if it doesn't, it means I've hit a point that is restricted and the bounce has stopped, so it can't go all the way up the spine. And two, it can be, actually three reasons. I can use that to determine where she wants to adjust, where she needs adjusted. I can use it as the adjustment. So if I start here, I might get a little bit deeper with the bounce. And three, it helps loosen the muscles up. So that when I do find a place, like right there, that needs to be adjusted, I've kind of prepped the muscles for me to actually do it. And so, got that one. And then a lot of times I do the base down here, and then I come back up to the front end, to the withers. And she's not too bad in the withers today. And you don't have to have pain to have a restriction. That's another misconception. So this one is rotated this way, so I'm going to push it back that way, but she's not sore on it. She doesn't care that I'm touching it. But that's the key. That's why we're getting the maintenance adjustment. We want this to not hurt. We want to catch it before it's a problem. And so then I will come down. This is the rib shelf. So this is where the ribs come out and angle down. Okay, that's where your saddle bars go. They sit on that rib shelf of those muscles. And so ribs can be extremely painful when they're out of place. And you can see right there, I can push here, she's fine. And push there, that's a little sore. So, got a little small rib subluxation there. Yeah, she's kind of creeping. I'm almost done on this side, so. And horses have 7 vertebrae in their neck. They have 18 thoracic vertebrae, which is the withers into the mid-back. We have 12, if that tells you how many more they have. They have 6 more. And then they have 6 lumbar. We have 5 lumbar. And then you have your pelvic joints and your sacrum and down into the tailbone. Okay, we've got another rib right there. You can see when I do that, she's a little sore. And that's what we call a floating rib. It's back toward the back. Doesn't really tie into down underneath the horse. It just ties into cartilage here. And when these go out, they can be really sore. This might be part of why she's falling out of the lead. It could just be a little bit of a habit too. Like she's always had a little bit of a problem with the leads and leg changes. So, have you considered getting one of the? Have you ever seen one of those pulley systems in Benjamin?
Yeah.
It goes around the butt, and you have the surcingle, and you might consider doing something like that. Just just building her up to where she's able to collect without you on her, and building those muscles in a little bit different way than when you're actually on her.
Okay.
They're kind of, one of them is like $250 or something, but there's cheaper ones like at State Line Tack they have one. It's like, just Google horse lunging pulley system and pull it up. You could probably make it, like get the picture. All it is like a little padded rope back here, a surcingle, and a rope up to the bit. So you could probably make it. It's just a matter of getting your lengths correct. So I would look at doing that. Okay, so we're done on this side. Now I always check her legs on the same side so I don't forget which side I'm on. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna feel her shoulder and her shoulder blade now. She's a little hesitant there. She's trying to pull her leg away. She's trying to lean into me then. She's like, oh, there it was. That one popped. I don't know if you'll be able to hear that on the video, but we're not completely done, Bliss. Okay? Okay. So this is where she's fighting me. So I'm going to take a second and I'm going to tell her, hey, it's all right. I'm trying to make you feel better. I don't want you to fight too much. Now, sometimes I will, and sometimes I will use that to help adjust it. You can't really see it, but she's really standing on me right now, trying to help me stretch that shoulder blade. So yeah, shoulder blade and shoulder joint again this time. So I always try to release them when they relax. So just like that, she relaxed, so I let her leg go. It feels better, huh?
Is that better or worse than last time, you think?
I think it's probably a little tighter than last time.
Was it?
I don't remember if I did the shoulder blade and the joint last time. I'll have to look though. So now, same thing. I'm gonna feel stifle and hip. Sometimes they fight and it's not really pain. It's just like, quit messing with me. And I think that's part of what she was doing just now. Come on now. That feels all right. So let's turn her.
Yeah, she's in season. That didn't help.
Oh no, that makes everything a little bit more sensitive back there, and your mood a little bit more sensitive. Okay. I can get a really good view of my rear end. I
don't know if you guys can see her tuck up whenever Beth's palpating there, but she's. I might be able to see that.
Yeah, I don't know if I can or not. It's kind of hard to video this without somebody actually videoing
moving around
it.
again. Yeah.
So her pelvis and her sacrum, so her sacrum usually sits like this, is rotated to the right. So pretty normal presentation for how she was rotated, but that left diagonal off more.
Okay.
Just come down here, go down each one, see what else we have left. Still a little tight right there. So we'll do a little stretching here.
When we are loping in a straight line, she drifts to the right always. It may be my balance. I've been trying to concentrate on it, but would that have anything to do with
So you're loping along and she's drifting
always,
to the right,
Doesn't matter where the magnets are, she's always drifting to the right.
Okay, so you're having constantly with your right leg, right rein, right leg. Okay. Does it matter what lead she's in?
Nope.
Okay, she's always there. Okay, yeah, I would look at your stirrup length.
Okay.
And I know you have a little bit of a problem with your south, so some of that may be that.
Okay.
So I would make sure it's not that. Do you usually ride one-handed? Like when you're out loping around?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you ride left-handed?
Yes.
Okay. Go right-handed. And I know it feels completely foreign. I hate riding with my right hand, and make sure your hand is always in the center.
Okay.
So do that just as an exercise and see if you notice a difference for drifting.
Okay.
Because it sometimes, which it's kind of opposite of what you expect. You would expect you to be right-handed and pulling her this way, but you might be doing something where she's trying to get away because your hand isn't centered. So I would focus on that, and your saddle, and your skirt lengths and stuff. And if not, then you're gonna have to get after her about staying off that leg. You might have to get after her pretty hard about, don't push on my leg, don't push on my leg, stay off. But let's see, this stifle was quick when we first started, so I don't know if that would do it or not. I don't feel any laxity when I push, so I bet it was just how she was standing. Because usually if it's a stifle paw, I can unlock it and push on it, and I'm not feeling it. So it probably was just how she was. Oh, we got another rib right there. So this is the third rib that we have found today. Okay, so two ribs out on the left, one on the right. So that could contribute a little bit to it. But if this has been a long-term problem, that's not the cause. That might be an effect of the rib. She looks a little bit more fit than last time I saw her.
She should be.
Good. Alright, so same thing over here. Check the legs. You can see she's not quite as hesitant on this one as she was the other one. Oh, big stretch. Big stretch. Oh. So that one, while it wasn't rotated as much as the left one, it kind of come out like this, which isn't as common. Usually they just go down. So I don't know. I think that's probably a result of what I was doing back here. Okay. Is she low-headed?
I mean, fairly, but not. She didn't just. No, she's not.
Just focus on.
Love ambiguous answers from you.
Yeah. Well, it's my life. So I usually like to come back and do the tail traction after I've done all the back. And let them just stretch one more time. And then if I've had anything that was really bad, especially jaws, if I've had TMJs that seem like they are really bad, after I adjust, I will come back up here and I will double check their jaw, because sometimes things will rotate back out literally in the time it takes me to adjust the horse. And so I don't want that. So I want to make sure that everything is held. You are so sleepy right now. So that all feels good. And she wasn't horrible up here, so. But sometimes I'll adjust, and then I'll come back and it's back out. And that usually means, if that happens, that I have not found one joint yet that is causing it all. So I've had joints like literally like one here that I just kind of glossed over and didn't really get it real good. Go adjust everything else, I come back and that is freaking sore. And I come back and adjust that and everything else relaxes. So it is, that's called the primary subluxation. You find the cause of it and everything else around it gets better. And the other thing I will do, not on all of them, but I'll do the butt tucks. And all it is a scratch, and you make them lift up like this. That's another stretch and exercise for them. And it helps just stretch the top line and helps their abs contract, kind of like doing a crunch on us. So when I do this, so I don't just do it as a stretch. I also look to make sure that they're bending up equally. Because sometimes they'll come off to one side with their rear end, or they'll kind of curve their spine, and that tells me that something somewhere is uncomfortable, because they should come up evenly, unless I'm only doing one side and then they'll twist. So, good screening tool. But she's all done.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll stop this, and then I've got just a couple of questions.
Okay.
About like education
Yeah.
and stuff.
Man, she is, she looks good.
Good.
Oh, this is the people.
Teaching from home has been good for my writing.
Do what?
Teaching from home has been good for my
Yeah,
writing.
the corona has been helpful for the writing part.